research shows time and time again that the younger someone is, the less likely they are to talk with their partner or partners about the sex that they're engaging in with that person. Right? Now, we could obviously say in a utopian world, if we change the way we're doing sex education, if we make our society less driven by shame and its puritanical roots, if we embrace people exploring different identities, all of that stuff would add to maybe changing that, but we're not there. And I think based on the world we live in, that's an ideal version to say we could be here where younger people are having these conversations, but we know years of data showing us the younger someone is, the less likely they are to talk. I hope that the conversation does not come across as like boys or men are bad, right? Like I hope that it never does. I think it's that, because I think that, and that's where it gets hard, because I hear you, and I think I would also say, like, you're the parent who chose to come here tonight, because like I think that I'm very grateful that so many times, having done masculinity work, like we were literally talking about this beforehand, if I don't require men to come to my programs, they don't come. And like 2 weeks ago, I was at a program where they heard me talk about my story as a survivor of sexual assault, and one of them sent an anonymous question to the screen of, so you liked it, right? In an audience of 1,000 men. And so it's like, I think it's that hard thing of, it's seeing the sides of, we want to create these conversations of empathy and care and compassion, and I never want men to feel excluded from those conversations. I think it's just like, it's that hard mix of, we know traditional acceptance of masculine values is the largest predictor of whether or not someone will be compliant or complicit in sexual violence. Because I do think we have a lot of very profound men who want to have these conversations, and I think it's hard sometimes to be in that space of like, hey, we watch these guys wanting to do this. It's just that I think I also hear a lot of guys being like, well, I would never do that. I'm like, but what are you also actively doing against it, right? So I'm like, yeah, because I also need you to be there, and I need you to show up in those kind of spaces. Yeah. Consent, as I always like to say, is one of the most difficult things you're ever going to do, because you're interacting with another human being who has their own history, their own identities, their own wants and needs and boundaries and desires, and all of these pieces that they may know, that they may not know, that they may be able to articulate, they may not articulate. And I think for a lot of us, we want to make sexual violence a very cut or dry issue of this is it, this isn't it. And I think we want to make consent a very cut or dry issue, because it makes it easy to litigate. And it makes it much easier to deal with the harm of sexual violence, and it makes it easier to have repercussions for it, when it's not always that cut and dry.